We arrived to a place. The A place was called Auschwitz-Birkenau, what was an extermination camp. There were 5 of them in Poland. Treblinka, Sobibor, Majdanek, Chelmno, Belzec, and Auschwitz number 2. Auschwitz number 1 was the big labor camp behind Auschwitz number 2. That's where the people were housed in barracks, and that's where the labor took place. And in Auschwitz-Birkenau, there were 4 crematoriums. In fact, when the train pulled in, we passed a large and a very long building with tremendous chimneys. I never saw a big chimney like this in my life, and such dark gray smoke came out of the chimney, and it had a very strange smell, like you burn an animal's skin. It's still in my nose. I can't even explain to you. It was a burnt smell, some kind. And we all thought it was a bakery. Well, it was not, no bakery. As the train stopped, about 5 minutes later, the doors got ripped open. And then all hell broke loose. On the platform were the SS guards with the death head emblem, with the big Alsatian dogs, the German Shepherd dogs. Even as of today, if I see a German Shepherd dog, I live in Beverly Hills and the police has some of them, I run the other way. I'm afraid of a German Shepherd dog. I got bitten by one once, and I'll tell you about it. And yelling and screaming, get out of the train, get out of the train. And people had to jump off the train. But with the German SS guards were the capos. The capos were volunteers. The capos were people who were selected by the Germans as overseers. Some of them were horrible, some of them were decent. Let me tell you, and I come back again here, the identification in the camps. Everything was an upside-down triangle on your jacket. On the top of the triangle was your concentration camp number. The green color was for criminals. We ever saw a green upside-down triangle, you ran the other direction as fast as you could, because Hitler purposely put these people into the concentration camp to torture other prisoners, especially in the concentration camp of Dachau, which was formed shortly after Hitler came to power. He put the criminals in there next to the clergies. There was a certain amount of clergies in Dachau immediately because they were against Hitler and they were suffering terribly. Protestants, Catholics, Lutherans, every type of clergy who just stood up against Hitler. So the green was for criminals. The red was for prisoners of war. The pink were for homosexuals. The brown color was for gypsies. The purple color was for Jehovah's Witnesses and Seventh-day Adventists. The black color was for clergies. And the yellow-red Star of David was for the Jews. Yellow-green Star of David star color was for Jewish criminals. I don't know where they got the Jewish criminal. I had mine a yellow and red Star of David on my jacket. And the capos started beating people. Get out of the train. There were trains, they were so vicious. They tried to overcome situation worse than the Germans themselves. They tried to show you who they are. I've seen to my left a wagon that opened up, and I don't even want to tell you about it, what I saw coming out of that wagon, because all the crazy people, the fat people, the people who couldn't move, they were jammed into that wagon. What happened in that wagon during the trip, only God knows it. But I have seen very few people coming out of the wagon, just some limbs that thrown out of that wagons. The wagon opened up and immediately we had to jump down. My mother had rheumatism, so one leg was a little bit shaky. And I jumped down and I helped her down. The announcement came, all the women, stand to the right, line up in 5. All the men, stay to the left with your children if they are 15 and older. If they are 15 and under, you stay with the women. I never, ever, ever saw my mother ever again. Never. Okay. I stand with my father. It was one of my brother. One brother was in the Hungarian army as a conscript. He worked for the Hungarian army, not as a soldier, but he was forced as a forced laborer. And as we stand in line, we had to march by a German officer. And that officer had on a white jacket, white gloves, black riding boots, black boots, and on the cap again, the death head emblem. That was Dr. Mengele. I never forget his face. I have pictures of him. He had space between his teeth, and he had a very, very pleasant looking face. He wore always shaving lotion, and he whistled always German operas. And while he was doing that, he had his thumb up. And as people marched by, he pointed to the right, to the left, just like that. Very casual, very simple. If he pointed to the left, that was the end of your line. You were taken to the gas chambers. If he pointed to the right, you were selected for labor. My father comes in front of him, and he points him to the right. My brother comes in front of him. He points him to the right. I come in front of him, and he asked me in German, let me tell you first in German, then in English, "Kannst du arbeiten?" Can you work? I said, yes. If I would have been hesitant, if I wouldn't have answered him that particular second, I wouldn't be here today, because he couldn't care less how many people were sent to the gas chambers. But at that time, the Germans needed labor work. They were suffering for labor. So they selected us for labor. What was not done at the beginning, because all the transport arrived at Auschwitz directly to the gas chambers. About 20% were selected from our train for labor. So I went with my father and with my brother. We were not allowed to talk to each other anymore. That way, if you talk, they beat you up right on the spot or killed you. So we walked. And suddenly we arrived to a very, very large building. And in front of the building were, like you see in the dry cleaners, the big canisters where they put the dryer in. But it was so big, I can't even begin to tell you. It gave out a very strange noise. It's like something was cooking in it. And we just passed by, and we went to the building. As soon as we got to the building, they announced it, get undressed, just keep your shoes, and keep your belt. So there were thousands of hooks all around the wall, and everybody did what they told. Then we had to march by 3 different stations. The first station was, they clipped your hair off. The second, they put it in big burlap bags, and those bags were sent back to Germany. They used it for mattress filling. The second station was horrible, because they used safety razors, and they cut the hair of your body, boom, 1, 2, 3, no soap, no water, no nothing, just cuts. People were bleeding profusely. The third station was even the worst. There were these couples sitting in front of a little wading pool, and the pool had a bluish green color liquid. To me, it smelled like bleach today. I don't know what it was. But they had a dirty rag in the hands, and they took that rag and boom, shoved it right against your body where you were bleeding. Did you ever hear hundreds of people screaming at the same time? That's what happened. People were yelling, people were screaming. They couldn't stand that burning on their bodies. Then finally, they allowed to take us a shower, a regular shower.